know, I've looked through this library for brand new obscure games to talk about, and I've mostly been focusing upon games that came out in the late 90s to early 2000s. And there have been some good and bad in that certain point of time. I've rarely looked at the high definition section though, which is right down here. But there can't possibly be any hidden gems in that section, right? Of course there's unheard games in this section of the library, and today we're going to be thoroughly talking about Puppeteer for the PlayStation 3. You've probably either seen this in the bargain bin or you've never even heard of it at all. So, is it worth it? 100% yes, that is my thorough opinion, but I shall go into depth as to why you should buy Puppeteer for the PlayStation 3. Puppeteer came out in September of 2013, developed by Japan Studio, published by Sony Computer Interactive, and was without a doubt a PlayStation 3 exclusive that implemented not only PlayStation Move support, which I'll admit was very underwhelming as you moved a side character to pick up and touch objects, which we'll get into later, but also had 3D. Yeah, the evolution of 3D was a big thing back in the 2010s, especially for video games, so that's fun for the blurry eyes. I have to wear them over my normal glasses, so you can either call me Six Eyes or the Double Vision Man. Enough! Into the theatre we go, and the personality immediately shines as soon as you are seated at the menu screen.
Come one, come all, to the most phenomenal, most extraordinary, most unimaginable puppet show you've ever experienced. Prepare for an astonishing adventure full of mystery, full of danger, and full of artistry, meant to astound the eye and capture the human soul.
The theatre atmosphere and experience is already wonderful, and nothing major or expressive has begun. Usually I would begin with the plot and narrative because context is divine, but I'll continue on with the presentation itself. The whole entire game is presented as a stage production with puppets performing without the usage of string, so they kind of have this magical element to them. They provoke a sense of different sizes as well as usage of material. Kutaro, our main protagonist, is small, made out of wood and has blocky rectangular arms, legs, and torso that fits a hole right in the middle. It fits the little hero character perfectly. Nearly all the small and large puppets are blocky and have their spaces for easier movement and animation for the characters. Faces are static for those painted on, but then the Wicked Witch will have a movable puppet mouth that is simply expressed. Same with the villains and bosses, they project vocality. The main villain, being the Moon Bear King, is gigantic and shows off his villainous presence with furry and scratched body, providing a different fabric in comparison to the creepy large tiger. He sticks out, especially since his colours are a combo of black and deep purple. The sets, the level design, and the uses of making this static stage elevate with movement and progression is thanks to the paneling and mechanisms. There'll be your simple single scene set where the characters do all the moving, and in the background could be interactions of little extras behind the walls. Then the scene will literally pull out, up, downwards, whatever it pleases, leaving a glimpse at the cogs and wheels behind the scenes, the ropes and the pulleys, conversing to the next part of the level. The stage will roll across wherever you go. When you enter a glitter portal, it could zoom you further into the background or to a new scenario. It'll scroll up as you rise to the top, and in some sections will have a rolling mechanism to implement the mirage of 3D movement, like this part where the Moon Bear King chases the heroes. You'll be going up a tower, and the tower itself will rotate round whichever way you intend to go. It's all expertly crafted and gives this play a wonderful exploration of creativity, such a primitive location expanded. But to keep on talking about the set, I should discuss the story. Set upon the Quarter Moon, the Moon Bear King has taken over as the supreme leader, overthrowing the Moon Goddess, whom was once her little bear, till he took the Black Moonstone, a main gameplay device known as Calibris, a pair of golden scissors. His small dozen army containing tigers, snakes, and bulls surround the moon. Human souls from Earth have been captured and turned into one-eyed, purple minions, taking orders from the king. Children have turned into puppets, and it's up to Kutaro, who is literally beheaded by the Moon Bear King in the first scene, ventures forth with new heads to stop the Moon Bear King and wipe the world of its dreaded purple evil. Not without the help of the Moon Witch known as Esma Potts, Yin Yang the cat who will help out in the first act as your sidekick, then replaced by Picarina, Princess of the Sun. On the journey, Kuduro will collect white moonstones, acquire the mighty Calabrus, and journey through multiple and varied locations, each act containing 3 scenes. The story is simple dimple, but the characters, the style, the locations, the exuberance are polished towards comedy, adventure, and enthralling entertainment from both gameplay and cutscene is done brilliantly. Each curtain call is set in a different environment, such as the dark, grim castle, the bamboo forest and oriental villages, under the sea and above the sea, on pirate ships and islands, and many more that I shan't spoil for those intrigued in what comes forth further through the journey. So you know, I'll only cover curtains 1 to 4. The whole tale is narrated by the narrator, and not only narrates the cutscenes in the beginning still set piece image, but also talks occasionally during gameplay. He provides such a vocal, elegant, snarky, even prose personality, and adds to the game rather than annoy. He'll even interact with the characters like Piccarina and let some fun fourth wall breaking ensue, including some remarks towards the cliches of games. The characters are what keep this train a-rolling with momentum and charisma. The Moon Witch is striking with all the wit of being an obnoxious observer, and will be judgmental about the situation. She's loud, angry, and has a cackle for the ages. There's more to her than that, especially when Captain Jack Sparrow over here gets the hots for her. Piccarina isn't in the mood for any stupidity or any singing. She'll complain a fair amount or tell the narrator off.
What? What's that look? I'm serious. I'm the Sun Princess. Princess. What? Hey! Princess, 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 princess. Stop that! We're so blessed. Yes, we're blessed. The princess of the sun is here. We're so blessed. Yes, yes, yes. The princess of the sun. No! Don't you dare go Sondheim on me! Oh my gosh, I will eclipse you! That's it! This Saturday morning cartoon is over! See, Kataro? I'm completely trustworthy. Harmless as a kitten.
Moonbear King is full-on intimidating, and his deep vocal voice and determination to destroy Kuduro is so grand. He's jaunty and devious. He wants his way, and when it doesn't occur, he gets snarly and loses his nut in the most entertaining way.
How dare you write an ending without me? This is my story! I am trying to rub-a-dub-dub. Call back later. What? Curses! I am trying to rub-a-dub-dub.
Kuduro is a silent protagonist, but his expressions and movement definitely showcase a cheeky little puppet whom is courageous. He'll be moving about all grabby over things and will spectate in the most charming way, but I will admit he looks rather cute with his actual head on this box art. Then he looks like a badass here. What makes all the characters so entertaining is the voice acting, and it's completely superb. They all obtain their own Shakespearean or odd play-like structure with British vocality aside from Piccarina, who is American for some reason. She's kind of the odd one out because it's a rather generic and traditional voice for the Sun Princess to have, but it gives her that angst vibe. Even the villains like the large scary tiger has rolling and intimidating British presence, and then you'll get some rodeo bulls that'll come off at you in a typical non-classy way.
Put him down, you killer! I was seconds from winning!
How dare you make me forfeit the race? I was about to beat this bovine!
Oh, yeah? Well, now you can fight Kataro instead.
Fight this pathetic pipsqueak!
Oh, maybe when he's out of diapers.
What's the matter? Chicken?
What did you say?
Gonna run back to your chicken coop?
How dare you call me a barnyard animal?
We pulverize you!
It's not only the characters and the narrator that give this whole game an inviting and engaging experience, that's thanks to the immersion of a live audience reacting to the whole entire play. When a certain comedic event occurs, the audience will laugh in its typical canned laughter, although the best thing is that it's not blatant and overflowing the main stage. It's background noise. They'll gasp, they'll clap when the act is over, and then the curtains close. I love this a lot because you get that director's cap, as if you are the puppet master when you're playing through Puppeteer. Going back to the stage and sets, the variety in the places give the game a nice pace and flow. You could probably decide to do one act a day to keep the square eyes away, or you could even blast through it all in one go, in wonderment of what's to come next. The colours of the stages can be bright and sharp with greens, blues, but I will admit it can be dark at times, especially in the first act. There's so much purple and black that I was afraid it'd be the whole entire journey, so hopefully you don't get too many glares in your room. It does build a positive as it makes the bosses scary and provoking in their large scale. This rag dog is freaking frightening, I must admit, and I bet it'll scare all the children who dare to play this, which they should. The tiger is threatening, same with the sand snake, even the moon bear king himself. But if it wasn't for the comedy, then I believe it'd be a darker tale indeed. And this is definitely a comedy with inclusions of drama and swashbuckling, so it makes the whole entire game a thrill to play through. What exemplifies the whole atmosphere of the sets is the music and sound design. You'll hear all the little nooks of puppet movement, the cranks of the background obstacles that keep the environment rolling, hearing the scissors known as calabrous cutters satisfying, and the whole set is alive with multiple effects that can be heard from afar or close in the foreground. But the music done by Patrick Doyle is what sets the show to the max. There'll be the daunting and haunting tune for the Moon Bear King that assigns his scale and evil. Then Kudaro's theme is heroic and bold, whereas Picarina has a plucky and fairy-like approach. Then the levels are whimsical and relate to their specific theme. It's swashbuckling when it's at sea, and it's country-esque when you enter the western stage. It's worth a listen to on its own, that's for sure. And what I find enticing and exciting is the world hub. The whole quarter moon is present and can be toggled to select the region you want to be in for this specific curtain call. You'll know when it hasn't been completed as purple fog corrupts the chapters. Not only that, but you can choose which part of the act you want for replayability. And this brings me to the gameplay. How could I leave that out of my discussion, hey? And from what you've seen, you probably already know what I'm going to say. Puppeteer is a 2D, well, in a way, it's 2.5D platformer, and you'll be platforming your way through many obstacles, pit holes, liquid evil, using a jump and a few more gadgets you'll obtain through and through. Firstly, I like to discuss the smaller things first. With the right analog stick, or if you have a player too, you can control your small sidekick, Picarina, who was also Yin Yang, the cat in the first act, and interact with the environment. Objects, background scenarios, other characters to get them going off of you, and to find some hidden puppets that are also trying to escape. Interacting can cause many things. The common item you find are moon sparkles, which you can collect throughout the game that don't add up to 100% completion, but more towards your life. If you interact with a certain creature, it could unleash a twister that will reward you with bonus sparkles, a head, or certain death. How lovely! And then you can be rewarded with a new head, which I should lead into. Kudaro will be able to carry 3 heads, and there's plenty to pick up along the way with many designs and relate to the themes of the levels. Cherry blossom tree head, spider head, skull head, hamburger head, so many that you can find around the place. You'll unlock them by exploring and beating the axe, so if you get hit you'll lose a head, but you still have enough time to grab it. If you lose all your heads, you lose life and have to go back a few notches, which rarely happened for me because I'm good at the game, I guess. With those heads you can find symbols of the heads, and if you use your animation by pressing the down button you unlock a secret pathway, a special spinner gamble thing, and the biggest one being the bonus round. With the bonus round you have to collect all the moon sparkles while platforming on a certain obstacle, or it's a super time attack. There's not much implemented into them, and the major reward for completion of bonus rounds is more lives. That's about it. So if you aren't struggling, you can waltz right past them, although it's entertaining seeing what is uncovered when you express the certain head of choosing. While there's heads for collecting, there are also head abilities that are useful and spice up the way of play as you progress through the story. You'll acquire a knight's head that'll give you a shield force field that can reflect projectiles if pointed in the correct angle, a head that can let you grapple onto high ledges or to tug at objects or levers that are stopping your pathway of progression. There's a bomb head which is helpful for taking out big baddies and the small little minions. They also propel for better level design management, and a head stomp. It's useful for its certain moments, but don't use it when you are platforming, otherwise you'll lose a dedicated life. All of those head abilities are also structured for great use in the boss battles, but there is one weapon that I have excluded, and it's the main masterpiece known as Calibris, which is the mighty scissors that make the gameplay all the more fun. Sure, as you can see, this is a rather conventional side-scrolling platformer that controls smoothly and responds to every coordinated move that you want. You can even roll, which I barely use. The jumping and using the head abilities to get through the stages is fun, but Calibris adds more oomph. You'll be cutting down your enemies, and once they are down for the count, you can snip all their eyeball soul sockets. And it is gratifying and never gets old. Although it can be a tad frustrating when a mini-boss lets all the eyes out, then you have one left only to miss it. So yeah, you'll be cutting small enemies, but around the main levels you will also be platforming and unlocking your way through to cut these gooey spiderwebs to get past the gap, or snip at falling leaves. There'll be a rope trail that needs to be button mashed and leads to engaging segments at a fast pace and lead to multiple paths. It keeps the action intact. Kind of like Yoshi, it gives you a bit more airtime to get to a platform just in the nick of time. It is a very useful weapon and platforming mechanic that keeps the flow of the gameplay fun. And the obstacles you avoid and the settings all keep that fresh as well, but when it comes to a performative aspect and from a controller stance, it works wondrously. Kuduro isn't too solid and flows elegantly, yet not like he is on 10 million butter sticks at once. His momentum when jumping is consistent too, plus he can duck and cover when he wants to. Getting to the bosses, they are rather challenging for a young child, but can be breezed on by if you're an adult. They can still fare a small fare of challenge nevertheless. The tiger boss is probably the most cliched, just wait for the paws to sit there dueling and then strike. The patterns are pretty easy to avoid, and that kind of goes with all the bosses. They offer different methods of play. Like with the snake boss, before it ensues you'll be riding this pesky rat that's been troublesome the whole time and you dodge and jump through its insides. They have different battle arenas which keeps it from being the same repetitive dance, but you will have the same mini boss every now and then. They'll attack with similar patterns and they'll rise up above, unveiling the drapes. You cut up the carpet and attack the weak cog spots after a good trimming. The mediocre aspect of the boss battles will have to be the quick time events. They are inoffensive and make the final punch out epic, but they're still mediocre quick time events and I think they could have ended better. Although I believe cutting the tiger's teeth is ultimately satisfying. After each act, you'll unlock a book, and these books tell a little story about certain characters that you've met through your adventure. They're stylish, and I would definitely buy them all if they were available physical. The best thing about the books is that the narrator does the voices for all the characters, and in ways I wish he kind of did all the voices in the actual play. Although it would have probably taken that away rather than give. It makes the completion of the levels all the more captivating, and I think I'll leave it there. Puppeteer is quite possibly the most underrated game on the PlayStation 3, and I really wished it got more attention. From what I described, I hope that it piques your interest, because it is actually a very fine game. It does have a couple of flaws, but that shouldn't negate this wonderful experience. Anyway, my name is James, this is my game, and I'll bid you adieu. Bye bye.